Say what you will about book collecting, but my biggest passion is finding a favorite book and giving it to you. So giving people books as gifts, especially to people who appreciate the books that they are given, who will actually read them and maybe even call and start a discussion with me about them, is one of my all-time favorite things, maybe in the entire universe. So I decided that I'm going to give Rachel from the Shades of Orange a special book box. So instead of doing this in secret behind the scenes, I decided that I'm going to include you guys in choosing the books that I send to Rachel. When I give gifts, especially to Rachel, I am looking for books that are going to light her fire, not necessarily mine. And as many of you guys may have already noticed, a lot of the books that I love, she doesn't, and vice versa. So I try to go out on a limb and really take into consideration all of her tastes when putting this book box together. If you don't know Rachel, her channel is the Shades of Orange. She is one of the original BookTube channels. She's been doing this for longer than 10 years. She was originally known for reading the dark and stabby horror books, but gradually expanded into other genres. Fun fact, we were introduced by a mutual acquaintance, Thomas, from the channel SFF 180. Awesome channel, by the way. Would recommend if you're interested in individual reviews. That said, Rachel and I hit it off immediately, and hopefully we'll be friends for a long time to come. That's right, Rachel. You're not getting rid of me anytime soon. Now, I have been watching Rachel for longer than we've been friends. So I mean it when I say that if you aren't subscribed to her channel, you're really missing out. She always has the newest, latest, and greatest science fiction fantasy books, and she's guaranteed to have reviewed at least one book that you haven't read yet.
I do read a lot of adult fantasy, horror, thrillers, true crime, and science fiction.
Luckily, I happen to know that she keeps her Goodreads super accurate. But man, she has 630 something books on her Goodreads. And in going through all of those, she only has 22 that are rated a 4.5 star or higher in the last, 10 plus years that she's been doing this. So Rachel is gonna be a tough nut to crack. This means that I might have to drop my expectations a little bit and say, Rachel, I would love it if we can get you a 5-star read, but I'm gonna have realistic expectations and say I'm gonna be really happy if we can find at least one 4-star read that you will love. I'd like to take a look at the things that she says she likes in books.
I've found myself loving these kind of cute, quirky sci-fi stories a little bit less just because I love these dark, meaty stories a little bit more as my tastes have grown. This one, where it ended up, is a bit more larger scale picture, a little bit more leaning into the horror elements that I loved, and more of the overarching military planning. I love the idea of the Earth rebelling against us. While I love science fiction, you know that I also love horror and stories that involve that epic scale. And that's what I love so much about this book. I am someone who can just live in what other people might call the info dumps, where the characters or specifically the author kind of goes out of their way to explain different terms and different ideas. And really, those were actually my favorite parts of the story. So it's a book that felt very out of the box, very fresh, very different. And again, it is building towards a larger thing, but I want a plot. I want my sci-fi, I want my time travel.
Now, I also want to take a look at the things that Rachel says she doesn't like in books.
And this book is known for being really absurd and ridiculous and funny, which just aren't my buzzwords when it comes to books. When it comes to humor in books, I quickly get bored of it. I find it to be almost too sickly sweet. I really struggle with mediocre science fiction where the story just feels like the author doesn't really understand or appreciate the science fiction genre and instead just sets a book in space or in the future. But for me, it was a weaker entry. I found the characters to be quite stilted. I described them as being more young adult, and a lot of it really comes down to the fact that they felt more like archetypes rather than well-rounded individuals. I was just bored, which is the last thing you want to do for a book. Instead, I couldn't care less. I struggled to remember the details of this book because I was so indifferent to it. So for me, I would rather hate on a book rather than feel nothing about it.
All right, so I'm gonna have to go around my house and look and see if I can find some books that might be good for Rachel. Okay, you guys, I don't want to overwhelm Rachel with all of these books. So instead, I want to set a couple of rules. The first rule is they've got to fit in the box that I've got. I only have so many boxes as options, so they must fit in this box. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start taking books out. Next is I only want to do one book per author because that way it will help us limit it and hopefully help us find a 4-star read for Rachel. And then number 3 is I want to go with variety. Because Rachel is such a tough nut to crack, I think it's going to be really difficult to find something. So I want to go with a variety of different kinds of books to give her a choice and to hopefully increase our chance of finding her a 4-star read. Okay, you guys, so Pico fell asleep. I have 4 PKD books that Rachel hasn't read yet. Now, Rachel actually hasn't read any Philip K. Dick books, which is incredible and very lucky on my part. So I gotta be honest, I have not read this book or this book or this book. So to be honest, of all of the ones that are here, none of them are his crazy famous ones, but this is the only book that I have read, and it was the book that converted me to Philip K. Dick in the first place. So to be honest, this is an easy choice. I'm going to pick Ubik, and that's going to go in our yes pile. That means that all 3, because I can't count, all 3 of these will definitely go in the no pile. The next author I want to talk about is Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, she's read quite a lot of Adrian, but these are 2 books that she hasn't. And one of the big problems she has with Adrian is his characterization, which is why I chose Dogs of War, because Dogs of War is, in my opinion, some of his best character work. Definitely something that made me cry. Maybe that's just because I have a dog, but I really liked this one, and I think she will too. However, Cage of Souls is very similar in tone to Alien Clay, which she did really like. She gave a 4-star. And she does have a soft spot for a little bit of eco-fiction. And I do think that Cage of Souls has that touch in there. It has that Dying Earth kind of vibe. And I do think that of these 2, she's going to like Cage of Souls a little bit better. So I think that's the one I'm going to go with. That means that Dogs of War is going to have to wait till next time. The next author that I have 2 books from is Greg Egan. Now, this is an author that she has read before. However, she's read Diaspora, which she absolutely loved, and one of his other books. But the only book of these 2 that I have read is Permutation City. Now, I don't mind sending her Incandescence, but this is definitely one that I can vouch for. So, being that I've read it and can check that box, I'm definitely going to send her Permutation City. And we can put that in the yes pile, and Incandescence can go into maybe next time pile. Now, another big thing that you might be surprised about is when I put together my book box, I try to only send books that I have read. So one of the things that you may not know is that when I try to send a book box, I'm trying to send books that I know for sure the quality of the book because I've read the book. Now, Rachel is an exception to that. I'm willing to send her a couple of books that I haven't read as potential buddy reads. So I want to get those books out as potential possibilities. So these are all books that I have not read, and there's a couple others that I'm going to bring up here shortly, but these are the main ones, and I have some exceptions here. I have read Use of Weapons, and I also have read Player of Games. So I think for sure that she would love Use of Weapons. I really think that she would like this story. But I don't think it should be her initial introduction into the culture. So I have considered Phlebas, and this is supposed to be philosophical. It is supposed to be the first book. And even though a lot of people say you don't and shouldn't start with it, I really think that she might really enjoy this first book. And we could read it as a buddy read together. And hopefully, even if she doesn't like it, she'll consider Use of Weapons later. So this is a book that I really think I want to send her. So I think this one is going to go into the yes pile as a potential buddy read. Now, I have The Fossil here, which is a science fiction thriller, and to be honest, this one is kind of an unknown for me. I think that this book was given to me. The reason why I put it in here is because this is about a Canadian archaeologist making a mind-boggling discovery. And if you know anything about Rachel, it's that she loves her Canadian books. However, because I don't know about the quality of this book, I feel really uncomfortable giving it to her, so I'm going to say no to this one. This one, however, is a book by an author that we both have read, and that was Quantum, also known as Sam Hughes, who self-publishes his books. And we read There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, and we both really liked it. And so this is another one of his books, and so this is one that I'm going to put in the maybe pile for if we have room later. So here's another author that we have that is a duplicate author. So I have 3 books here by Robert Silverberg, which is someone I don't think she has read yet. Now, I have not read Book of Skulls. As you can tell, I'm right in the middle of Dying Inside, and Downward to the Earth is my favorite Robert Silverberg book as it stands today. Now, to be honest, of all of these books, Downward to the Earth is the one that I would most like to send her because I loved it so much. The graphic novel of it. Now, this is only volume 1, and I'm having a really hard time finding volume 2. And I think she really would like it in graphic novel form. I think it's a really unique situation, beautiful art, really interesting story, and I just don't want to send her half. So until I get the second version of this, I think I'm going to wait on Downward to the Earth and put that in the next time pile. That leaves Dying Inside and Book of Skulls. To be honest, this one is a sci-fi midlife crisis story, and this one is supposed to be a psychological thriller, border on horror. Now, as somebody who reads horror all the time, she may not like this book, but it might be a book that she vibes with, especially because Robert Silverberg has such lyrical writing. So that said, I think this one's going to go into the maybe pile, especially because I haven't read it yet. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say no to Dying Inside. So next, I want to include some works of short science fiction, because remember, she has a lot of novellas that are on her top list. And these are ones that she has not read before. that I could find on her Goodreads that I happen to own right now. And I gotta be honest, I'm really tempted to send her all of these, but of all of them, I think the one that I most want to send her is Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers. It's weird, it's Russian, there's a really fantastic or controversial ending, it's short. I think this one has a lot of potential. I really want to send this one to her, so I'm putting it in the yes pile. Now that leaves us with the rest of these. And asking myself which one has the highest potential to be maybe more of a B rating for her or be a little bit boring. I'm kind of worried that the Chrysalids, which I finished recently, is one that she won't really love, especially because it's a little bit slower paced. And to be honest, this is a story that I've heard of before. So I enjoyed this one, but I'm not sure it's really her vibe. Even though I know she's liked other John Wyndham, I think I'm going to kind of punk out on this one. That leaves these two. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one, All You Need Is Kill, into my maybe pile, because this one is an easy, fun read that has a movie tie-in that I think she might really like, but it's only if she has room in the box. So that's in the maybe pile. And this one is a novella that I have finished very recently by Lena Rather. This is about nuns in space, but it's a very fun, cozy, complex novella. There's honestly 3 different plot lines that you follow in this story, which is impressive for how short it is. And I feel like it's a little bit of a more feel-good kind of story. I really want to send this one to her, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put it in the yes pile. All right, next we have a couple of older science fiction novels. I always like to mix some of these in to see how she will feel about it, and see if we can find anything. So these are some books that I happen to have that made me think of Rachel as a possibility. So I gotta be honest, there's one that really stands out to me, and it may not be the one that stands out to everyone else. And that one is The Sheep Look Up by John Brunner. And it's specifically because I know how much she likes climate eco-fiction that this is essentially what this one is. It is one of the progenitors. It is a book that absolutely blew me away. The thing that might be risky for this one is that it's a very different narrative structure. It doesn't follow a single character all the way through. Instead, it's more of a global look at the world and how messed up it is and what we need to do to fix it. I really think that this one has a really high potential for her to be a 4-star read if she can get past the structure. So I'm strongly going to send this one for sure. Then we have the rest of these, and I'm going to be honest, this one has a little bit more of a fantasy vibe. It's a fun world building. It's the beginning of a very loosely related series by Alan Dean Foster, but I don't think it has kind of the big picture scope that she's really looking for. So I think I'm going to wait till next time for this one. Of these two, both of these are masters of science fiction, but I gotta tell ya, I have not read Stranger in a Strange Land. And I do know that I have sent her other Robert Heinlein books, including Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and she just didn't get along with Robert Heinlein. She didn't love it. She didn't hate it. It was just mid-tier for her. And I know this one is very controversial, but I just don't know if this is one that will get along with Rachel. I don't know if it's her vibe. It's a big question mark for me. Instead, I really want to send her Isaac Asimov's The Gods Themselves. This one is definitely a standalone. It's my favorite Isaac Asimov standalone. And I think that Rachel will really like the alien culture in this story. it feels a little bit lasting the test of time, if you know what I'm saying. There is a tiny bit of a little bit of satirical, sarcastic humor in the first couple pages and also in the title, but I think that she will be able to get over it because I think the alien world will be cool, and I think she might actually really like this one. Maybe it'll end up being a 3-star, but I can always hope for 4 stars. As for this one, I think I'm going to put it in the maybe pile because, again, it's such a big question. Next, I have some mass market paperbacks that I'm not sure about. And all of these are books that I have either loved or really thought of Rachel for. And I gotta be honest, because we had such opposite opinions in 2024, I think that the book that I'm going to take away first is Darwin's Radio by Greg Bear. I think we just had such opposite tastes that year that she probably won't love this as much as I did. That leaves us these 4. Now, of all of them, the one that stands out to me the most that will round out some of my book buying and will be something that has a potential for her to be loving is The Snow Queen by Joan Vinge. This is a science fiction book that reads like a fantasy. It's definitely all about character, but it's got a really cool world. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this story. It can be a standalone, but she can also go pick up the next book if she wants to. And I think this one could be a potential 4-star. That leaves the rest of these books. I gotta say that while I love Inherit the Stars, I don't know how she will feel about it. It's got a lot of info dumps, which I know she loves, and it's a hard science fiction novel, but it's also not very plausible, and that was something that I liked about it, but it's something that she may not. And if she doesn't like it, then giving her all 3 books is kind of a waste. So this is something that I'm going to hold off on, especially because I've mentioned this book to her in passing, and she didn't seem all that interested. Then we have John Varley and Sherry Tepper. Now this book is crazy unique, and it's definitely got a lot of heavy flavors of Wizard of Oz. I think that it has potential, but John Varley is really well known for his sarcastic writing, and that's one of the things that I love about him, but that's something that Rachel doesn't love. So I think this one is one that I'm going to also put in the no pile. Now, this book is going to be the hardest for me to decide because we read Sherry Tepper's Grass together and she DNF'd it. Now, while it was a book that I love, this story is a lot more about the battle between the sexes, and it's got a lot of philosophy in it, but it's a little bit more slow going. So I'm going to put this into the maybe pile, and I'm going to try to figure that out a little bit later. Then we have, I'm going to call it the hodgepodge options. These are books that I've thought of to send to Rachel several times, and I'm just not sure which one she'll love. I gotta say that of all of the ones that I think she might end up saying is only meh or a nothing burger, if you will, is probably this alternate history World War II Blackout by Connie Willis. Not only is it only half the story and I don't own All Clear to send her, but I also think that the plot might be a little bit too slow for her because it was a little bit too slow for me. So I'm going to put this in the no pile. I'm also going to say that Ridley Walker is one that I haven't read yet. I really thought that Rachel might be somebody who would appreciate this story, especially since it's a post-apocalyptic story where people have sort of created their own language, and it's one that's really hard to read. It's supposed to be well worth it, but I don't know if she's going to like it or not because I haven't read it. So this is one that I'm not going to take a chance on yet. Then looking at these, Dark Eden is a story that is about a planet with no sun, and all of the plants are fluorescent. It kind of reminds me just a little bit of Scavenger's Reign, but it's not wowing when you talk characters. It's really cool for world building, but not that amazing for characters. And I just see that as being something that is too risky as a potential boring or a 3-star read for her. So I'm going to hold back on that. Next is Moxieland. This is kind of a cyberpunk, very actiony thriller story about the underbelly of a future city and how crazy things get. This is very fast-paced. It's definitely a thriller, but it doesn't have the potential because I don't know how Rachel feels about cyberpunk. I also think that she's scheduled to read a Lauren Buke's story in her Patreon group soon, so I don't know that I want to be sending her another one by that author without knowing if she likes them. This one is one that has a cult classic. It's also one that I haven't read yet. It takes place on Pluto and is supposed to be really interesting world and exploration, but it also has a big potential to be possibly mid-tier. So I'm going to hold off on this one as well, especially because we already have so many books and I need to make sure they're going to all fit in this box. So these are the books that we are going to send. So far, we have a novella, we have eco-fiction, we have another possible novella, we have a possible buddy read, we have kind of a sci-fantasy story, we have a very awesome standalone classic, we have another standalone modern classic, we have another possible eco-fiction, Dying Earth kind of a story. And then we have a Philip K. Dick kind of weird, wonky, messed up story. I think those are going to be some slam dunks. All right, now we can get into some of these maybes. So this is our maybe pile. Let me move these so you can see them, our maybe pile. So I'm going to be really honest, this is our yes pile, so we'll throw those over there. I am pretty tempted to send her this one since I really want to have another buddy read with her, and this one is going to be, I hope, fun and interesting, and it's a little bit more hard sci-fi than his There Is No Anti-Memetics division, but I'm really interested in this particular story, and I think she might be too, so I think I'm going to send her that one. I am pretty set on sending her this one. I don't have a really good reason other than I think that it won't take up too much of her time, and it's an interesting translated work. It's very emotional, and it has a movie tie-in. What's not to love? I'm going to send it and see what she thinks. All three of these are a risk to send her. Maybe it's only because I haven't read it yet, but I'm thinking that I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to send her Book of Skulls just because it's her style of book. Now, I'm kind of worried because it's not true horror, and it's not going to be scary for her. I don't know if it's a good psychological story, but I'm going to try it. We got to take a risk and find out. And we'll get her opinion, especially since I haven't read it. I hope that's not a problem for her. Then these two books, especially this one. I know that she didn't like the last book that we read by her, but this story is a little bit more her vibe. It has a couple of things in it that I think she may not love, that may turn her off of this story, but it wouldn't be the worst thing ever if she DNFs it. So I think I'm going to take a risk on this one. And I think I'm not going to take a risk on this one. Why? Because she hasn't really liked any of the other of Heinlein's stuff. So I don't know that this one's going to elicit any more emotion than the other ones. So I'm going to hold off on this one. And this makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 books. This makes 13 books that we will be sending Rachel to see what books will hopefully light her fire. I hope we have at least a couple of them in here that are going to be good, and if she doesn't like a bunch of these, that's going to be okay. So, let me get these all boxed up. Okay guys, bad news. All of the books did not fit in the book box. So I am going to have to take a couple of books out. And that is primarily due to the fact that we found so many options for Rachel, but also it's because I have a bonus 2 books that I'm trying to include in this box. I have a secret gift for Rachel's and her channel that I'm really excited to send to her. I'm not going to tell you the secret though, because hopefully it's going to be a surprise for you as much as it is for her. Now, I did include a little red envelope in this box that says Rachel read first. So hopefully this will have all the instructions for her, because to make it more fun, I did a thing. I wrapped all of the books, so when she gets the book box, she won't know which books are which. And instead, what I did is I included a description of the book on the cover to try to get her to guess what books it is I've sent her. I'm hoping that if she can get either the author or the title of the book as close as possible, that could be a really fun game for us to watch her open them and see how close she was, and hopefully get a little bit of information about the book on this front cover. I hope this is going to be fun. I don't really know. Hopefully it'll be just as much fun in execution as it was in to wrap all of these books and trying to come up with all of these hints. But I'm really excited to get this book box in the mail. So let me load it up. We'll hopefully get to see some awesome Rachel reactions.
Hi everyone, for those that don't know me, I'm Rachel with the Shades of Orange. I believe Whitney already introduced me though, and I have been sent a box by her. She let me know it was coming, and that's all I knew at the time, and I haven't seen any of the footage that you just watched, so I have no idea what to expect. I have the box here, which is ginormous. The only thing I've done is ripped off the very top because it had our addresses on it, but everything else in here is wrapped, and again, I don't know what's coming. There is a letter that she told me to read first. On there, she gives me a little bit of a heads up saying that it had to fit in the box, 1 book per author, and she included a lot of variety. Beyond that, I really don't know what's coming. I'm going to do my best to guess and talk about it, but again, I don't know why she chose these books. You all know a lot more than I do. And let's get started with this because I have so much to unwrap and I'm not prepared for this. The first one is a climate dystopian. Ooh, she knows what I like. I don't know why, I just find climate fiction so fascinating. By a big sci-fi classic author who is underrated despite awards. Oh, what is this gonna be? The title, is this gonna be, it's gonna be the Sheep book, isn't it? This is gonna be Philip K. Dick, I think. I don't know, that's the only thing. It's gotta be Dreaming of Electric Sheep. This is terrible. I really should do more editing of this video to hide all of my terrible guesses. Oh yeah, this is definitely not, because I've read Electric Sheep. So this is The Sheep Lookup by John Brunner, and unfortunately with this video I haven't read any of these, and a lot of these I probably haven't even heard of, so I'm going to frantically try to read the back as I talk to you all to give you a bit of a synopsis. So it's in the near future, air pollution is bad, infant mortality rate is soaring. This sounds like a really fun book, Whitney. I am joking, you know my taste. I'm all here for the grimdark or just the depressing future. Bring it on. I never heard of this book. It's compared to The Handmaid's Tale. Love it. Fahrenheit 451, 1984. I am very excited for this one. How have I never heard of it? So I will report back on this, as I'm going to say with every book in this video, so let me try not to be repetitive here. Next up, we have No Cheating with My Thin Paper. Okay, that's not the description of the book. The controversial start to an epic series, all in the same universe, by a UK author. I'm terrible with knowing where authors are from. Somewhat modern, hoping we can do a buddy read. This series has a cult following. And he's passed away. I don't know. I'm terrible at these. This video would be so much more fun if I actually knew books that were on my radar, but even books on my TBR, I'm not always great for looking up synopsis. A lot of times I just take recommendations from other people or just think that a book has a cool sound to it and really go from there. So let's see what I'm in for. Oh, of course. I should have thought of this. All right, we have Consider... I'm so bad with this. All right, we got Consider Flavius correct me in the comments because I know I'm saying this wrong. Let's go with Plebeius by Ian M. Banks. I really need to read some Ian M. Banks. I know Whitney has been dying to get through this series, so yes, let's do this as a buddy read. Next up, we have a famously drug-riddled, trippy book I'm surprised you haven't read. In my opinion, the ending was spot on, but otherwise confusing up until that point, good or bad. I'm interested in your take. Oh boy, this sounds fantastic. You have been meaning to get to this author, but keep passing him by because of how short his books are. And this what got me converted. Oh, there we go. We were just talking about how I'm really trying to give myself permission to read the shorter books on my TBR and all the things I wanted to read. Oh, I have an idea. Okay, yes. Oh yeah, I actually don't even know what this book is about. This is Ubik by Philip K. Dick, an author who, as she said, I need to read. And I keep going, oh, I'll read him later because his books are so short. I'll read them in a day. And then I just never do. Tell me if anyone else is in that situation. So this one, again, we have anti-psychics in corporate clients, privacy and security concerns. I don't know. I just know I really should have read him by now. I have read only We Dream of Electric Sheep, but that's only the tip of the iceberg with him, and so I really need to read more. Next up is a book that Whitney started and finished on an airplane to Japan, and it made me tear up in public. I've definitely been there with a book that gives me a strong reaction where I kind of wish I was in private. And so we have a terrible cover. There we go, terrible cover. It's hard to read the writing. It's Whitney. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with reading other people's writing. A movie adaptation, but the book is very different. The author is Japanese. Think Tom Cruise. I'm thinking The Last Samurai, but that can't be right. Okay, let's see what this is, because again, I'm gonna fail every single one. I don't think The Last Samurai movie with Tom Cruise was actually based off of a book. Ooh, this looks cool. Oh, I know Whitney loves this series. All You Need Is Kill. I have, not seen the adaptation, don't know a lot about it, but given how popular and buzzy it is around the same type of people who love a lot of the anime and manga that I enjoy, I'm really excited for this. And to be clear, it's not a manga, this is a novel, but yeah, all you need is kill when aliens invade. This person is sent off as one of the many recruits and action ensues. Really looking forward to this one. It's one that honestly is kind of off my radar, but I don't know why. So thank you, Whitney, for this. Next up, we have a alleged psychological thriller that I haven't read, but I like the author. Borders on horror, but isn't. Title is 3 words. First, you're holding this. Second, connecting word. Third is skull. I don't know if you can see that on camera. There's like a death skull. This is a risky book. Hope it works for you. I have no idea. You're holding this? Is it a book of death? Is that what this book is called? I'm so bad. This is going to be so disappointing for Whitney when she gets this footage. Oh, Book of Skulls. I think I've heard of this. I feel like I have several friends who want to read this, and my response to them was, I don't have a copy, so I can't read it with you. So I'm, really curious for this one. Know very little about it. Seeking immortality, promised by an ancient manuscript. Yeah, this definitely sounds horror-ish. I don't even know how this is on Whitney's radar. You don't read horror, do you? Are you secretly reading horror and just pretending you're a science fiction guru? I'm on to you, Whitney.
No, I am a baby when it comes to horror. Absolutely not.
All right. I'm looking forward to this one. Thank you for this. Next up is a really tiny one, and this says modern book you might not have heard of. An author inspired by physics and chemistry, check, concepts, and we have read before, self-published, hard sci-fi that I'm hoping we can buddy read. Absolutely. I don't even know what the book is, but yes, Whitney, of course we're going to buddy read these books that you sent me. I'm so excited for this. I have a guess who the author is. Yes. So not surprisingly, this book is by Quantum. I have read him before with Whitney, who sent me a previous book by them. This one is Fine Structure, never even heard of it. It follows a fledgling physicist who discovers a Rosetta Stone for all of physics. Sounds great. And then it's a treasure trove of advanced scientific breakthroughs. And I assume there's a catch because this can't all go well. Something needs to go horribly wrong, as I love with my books. And there we go. The last sentence says, because there's something wrong with the world. There's a fundamental flaw, a defect in its structure. Dun, dun, dun. I'm very excited for this. This is going to be fun. All right, moving on. So next up we have a novella about nuns in space. Okay, this one I do know. I'm blanking on the title. I want to call the book Nuns in Space, but I don't think it is. I think it's Sisterhood of the Void. Let's go Sisters of the Void. I think that's it. It's one I've been meaning to get to. Don't have a copy. I'm sure this, okay, finally I'm guessing one book right. I'm sure I'm right on this one. Let's see. Let's see about this, but it's a novella I haven't read, and I tend to have really good luck with novellas. There we go. Sisters of the Vast Black by Lena Rather. And you already heard the synopsis. Nuns in Space. I kind of love the concept of that. I know Whitney really enjoys the dissection of religion in science fiction, so let me know if this is another buddy read for us, because I'm really excited for this one. Again, I've almost read it for years, but I haven't, and this is the excuse I need to finally bump it up my TBR. Thank you for this. There is still more books in here. This is insane. Next one is a modern author you have been reading more of lately, in which you cannot connect with his characters. Oh no, it's gotta be Alistair Reynolds, I think. Is this Alistair Reynolds? But he has a cool coat and great eyeballs. Wait, oh, we must be talking about Adrian Tchaikovsky. Oh, eyebrows? Are we talking about his eyebrows here, actually? This is a Dying Earth tale with eco-fiction mixed in, beautiful cover. All right, so if this isn't Alistair Reynolds, I'm thinking this has to be Adrian Tchaikovsky, who does have really nice eyebrows, but I can't think of what book he would have put out, especially something that's not a novella that would be this size that he's written. So I'm assuming this is science fiction and not fantasy. So I don't even know. Who else? Yeah, there's gotta be Adrian Tchaikovsky, but what book is this? Oh, it is Adrian Tchaikovsky. I feel smart now. Ooh, Cage of Souls. I completely forgot about this book. It's one that I think I'd heard of because it was Adrian Tchaikovsky, but never read, probably because I didn't have a copy. So beneath its baneful light, you have this lost city, human souls, bearing witness to the desperate struggle for existence between life old and new. And the question is, who will inherit the earth? I really am terrible with synopsis. I'm so sorry. But I have absolutely not read this book. Kind of off my radar despite being really interested in this author, and I don't necessarily connect with his characters, but I love his ideas, and I really did enjoy Alien Clay last year, so I'm hoping that this one will work really well for me. How cool is that? And this cover is gorgeous, by the way. Not that that's what's important, but it always is great when the cover is really nice too. Next up, we have a second in sci-fi fun military series you've been having a hard time getting a hold of, but that isn't a Rush or a Mustard series. Mustard? I'm sorry, I can't read your writing. This is terrible. I'm not sure what it says. Rush series? Let's go with Mustard series. I assume that she wrote Mustard.
Mustard read? Must read. Must read. Yeah, totally what I meant. That is a great video idea, Rachel.
Got it cheap, so if you don't like or love it, no worry. Author has 3 names. The series is about an empire and falling. What would this be? Oh, maybe this is like Ender's Game? Yeah, I feel like it's Ender's Game and I've only read the first one. And so this would be taking me back to the Ender's Game series. I'm going with that. Let's go Ender's Game. Oh, this is not Ender's Game, is it? It's not the sequel to Ender's Game, at least. No. Ooh, oh. So this is, yeah, book 2, The Sundering. And, oh my goodness, yes. What's the first book called? Hopefully it tells me. I am blanking on this. Hang on, this is making a great video here. Like I said, Whitney will love this footage. Yes. So we have The Praxis. Yes, you're absolutely right. I love the first book, and then my library didn't have the next copy. So I just stopped reading it, which is problems of a cheap reviewer and reader, where I will generally go with what's available to me just because I read so much. I'm always afraid to spend too much money on books, and oh my goodness, I'm so excited for this one. I need to reread a book 1. You should read this with me, Whitney. I think you'd really like this series. Have you read this yet? I can't remember. Let's read book 1 together if you haven't, because this would be really fun to continue on with you. All right, we're on to a Hugo Award winner and classic SF. I'm surprised I haven't given you before. Alien Society with Advanced Tech. That's like every science fiction book, Whitney. That's every space opera. One of this author's best, in my opinion. Famous, often considered a big 3 sci-fi author, most known for robots. Okay, so this is definitely Isaac Asimov. I'm always saying his name wrong. But it's not iRobot, because I have read that one, and it's not his, at least it's not the first book in his Robot Mystery series, because I have read that. And this is Stay Good for the Alien. I don't know his other books. What is this? This is a video in humiliation of my lack of classic knowledge. I'm not someone who has a solid text. Oh, this is a masterwork edition. I'm already excited. I don't even know what book it is. Oh, I'm excited. I wanted to buy this book so many times. I just forgot what the title was. The Gods Themselves. I actually don't know too much about it, but I've definitely looked at this book on Book Outlet before. So the basic is that it's the year 2100. They've invented this electron pump that allows them to have unlimited energy. And so humanity can break free and explore the solar system. But however, it exchanges material with a parallel world. Oh my gosh, this sounds like it's all gonna go horribly wrong. I'm so excited for this. Have you read this yet, Whitney? If you haven't, let's buddy read this together.
Nope, I already read it and loved it, but I hope Rachel does too.
But I'm really excited for this one. I don't know why I've never read the synopsis for this. I think I would have bought it myself if I'd known how good that sounds. So thank you. And again, I love the Masterwork editions. I'm slowly collecting them. I think they're over there. And this one is a gorgeous addition to add to the collection, and hopefully again a new favorite. I need some new science fiction favorites this year in terms of backlist titles, and I feel like this one's going to be on there. All right, then we have a sci-fi author in Australia who's known for hard science fiction. You've read him before and liked him. 2 words, has to do with a city. You've also enjoyed this one, or hope you enjoy this one. This must be Greg Egan. Is he Australian? I don't know if he's Australian, but I feel like it's Greg Egan because it's hard science fiction, and that's the only author that's coming to mind. I hope you're all laughing at me in the comments here. Oh my god. Oh, I am right again. Oh good. I did not know if I was right or not. But yeah, Permutation City. I knew there was a city in one of his titles. I can remember the rest of it. And I'm so excited. So this one is about a man named Paul who keeps making copies of himself. What could go possibly wrong? Software simulations of his brain and body in a virtual reality. He wants them to be guinea pigs for experiments. And this sounds amazing. I believe this is one that is not in my library system. At this point, I think I've read everything that is in my library, but because he's not a really popular author, while I have a great library system, this one wasn't available, which again puts it lower on my reading list just because I do tend to prioritize things that I can get without having to go to the bookstore and try to track them down. Books are expensive here in Canada. Fellow Canadians watching this, back me up on this. But this is gorgeous. I love this cover. I've never seen it with, it looks like a crossword puzzle. And I'm really excited. You are right, Whitney. I love this author's work. And again, the only reason I haven't read this one is because it wasn't available to me. So thank you so much. And the premise sounds amazing. Again, often I don't even look up the synopsis of books that I don't have available to me because I don't want to have FOMO. And so I have a really good feeling about this one. I think it has a lot of favorite potential. How are there still more books in here? The next one is A Murderous Android on the Moon, which is colonized by an underbelly criminal organization or city known as Purgatory. This is a book I almost sent you 3 times, and it's about time to find out if you liked it or not. This book is a risk. Okay. I know there's one book on my list that's, oh, what is it? Something, it has the word moon in it, which is not helpful. I know, oh, I don't even know if I know this book or not. I know a couple books set on the moon, but I can't think if I have this one on my radar. I don't know if this means anything. Let's find out. I'm just useless at guessing, let's be honest. Oh, no, I don't know this one. Hang on. All right, this is called The Dark Side by Anthony O'Neill. And as she described, Purgatory, this lawless moon colony of eccentric billionaire, mecca for war criminals, murderers. This reminds me of another book. Now I'm wondering if it ripped this one off, but there was one where people were sent to, I believe it's on the moon, a colony of all the criminals, and then they were kind of dealing with them there. But yeah, apparently there is an android with amnesia and things are going horribly wrong as he rampages around. This one, I will admit, I would absolutely also put in the risk category. No idea if it's going to work for me, but it sounds like a lot of fun. Definitely try it out and report back, so thank you for that. Next up, we have a Russian sci-fi booktube darling, weird but written by brothers. Hope you don't have it. Humanity is nothing but ants in this one. Oh, this is Roadside Picnic. I actually guessed one. I know this is by a Russian author, so I'm totally right. And for whatever reason, I haven't read it yet. It's on my radar, but clearly not high enough up my radar. Let's see if I'm right. Yes. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the author's names, but very excited for this one. I believe Whitney enjoyed it quite a bit. I know she did a video recently, which was fantastic, talking about different authors around the world. And again, I would love to read more translated books, so this one is definitely high up on my radar now. So thank you for this. Looking forward to it. No idea how I'll get along with it, but I really need to read through more of the sci-fi classics this year, and this one is very much top of mind. And we also have one by a female sci-fi author, sci-fi that reads like fantasy. Could be read as a standalone. I hope to, okay, it kind of will have hopefully C.S. Friedman vibes. You are right. I really noticed last year, if you look at my favorites from 2024, a lot of my favorites end up being sci-fantasy, which is weird because I always say I'm a sci-fi reader first, not a fantasy. And then I'm liking all of these sci-fantasy books. I don't know what it says about me.
It says you have great taste, but we already knew that.
I'm trying to think if it would be Ursula K. Le Guin, but I feel like she always writes really hard science. I would think it would be C.S. Friedman, but if it's giving vibes of C.S. Friedman, I don't think you're comparing the author to themselves. So I have no idea who this could be. Oh, okay, this might be my most exciting book out of this whole video for me. I have wanted to read The Snow Queen for so long, but it was not available, and I thought it was kind of expensive online. So if you spend a lot of money on this, I feel really bad, but I've been dying for this book for so long. It is a time where I've really considered multiple times buying this book myself. The cover is absolutely stunning. I am really excited for this one. No idea how we'll get along with it. I've been wanting to read more seasonal science fiction, so science fiction that has like a snow element to it. It's something I really want to read more of, and everyone kept recommending this book, but I couldn't get a hold of it. It wasn't anywhere in my library system, just hard to track down, and I'm really excited for this one. So thank you, Whitney. I am going to treasure this copy. I am dying to read it. Let me know if you're reading it alongside me. All right, there's two things left in this box. One is a wrapped Christmas present, and I think the other one is also a present of sorts. So I'll start here and we'll see what this is. I am so curious. There wasn't even any clues on this one, so I can't even guess. Oh, Whitney, you're the best. This is an edition of The Dark Forest. I own the first book, but I do not own the second. I am so excited to have a copy of this. I've really fallen in love with this series, as well as with the author in general, and I do love to own my favorites. So even though this is a book I've technically read before, have reviewed, it's not a new to me book. I really appreciate it because I am someone who, again, loves collecting my favorites, but I try to do so on a limited basis, and I haven't found a cheap copy of this one yet through my used bookstore, so I'm really excited for this one. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful gift, really kind of you. And by the way, you are ridiculously generous. I'm now sitting around a pile of wrapping paper and books, and let's see what this last thing in the package is. All right, so I don't know what this is, so this will probably just be hilarious to all of you who hopefully have already seen this. There is a wood block here with a plug-in for a USB. I don't know what this is. And then there's something on here that says, oh my goodness, it's Shades of Orange. Is this supposed to be, look, I'm like a fancy YouTuber, guys. Look, you probably can't see. Hang on, let me see if I can zoom in on the camera. This is Shades of Orange. This is so pretty, and I'm guessing it lights up. I need to figure out how to plug this in. But my goodness, this is going right here and staying here. Thank you so much. This is so nice. I am really excited for this. Again, hopefully it's showing up well on camera, but it's got my channel title in there. It's gorgeous. It's got this nice block, this glass, and I'm so glad it shipped well. This is so thoughtful of you. So for anyone watching this from my channel, if you aren't familiar with Whitney's, I hope you stick around and subscribe to her. We are just really good friends. We talk a lot offline, and it's really fun to finally get a reason to collaborate. I need to figure out a way to pay it back to Whitney in one way or another. This is so crazy generous, really fun to put together, or I guess be on the receiving end. I didn't put anything together. This was all her. What a fun surprise. So many generous, thoughtful books in here that really were clearly curated to my very niche, particular, finicky science fiction taste. So thank you, Whitney. You are so thoughtful. It clearly was a lot of effort on your part, and I can't wait to get started. So for anyone interested to hear my thoughts on these books, I will have upcoming review videos talking about what I thought of these books. I obviously have just unwrapped everything now, so it's going to take me probably a couple months to get through these. But if you want to stick around and subscribe both to her and me, I will report back once I've read these, and we'll find out together which are the winners. All right, everyone, I'll pass it back to Whitney. Bye.
And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wanted to say an extra special thank you to Rachel for allowing me to film this and all of the weirdness that goes into putting this book box together. And I hope you guys had a great time. We'll have to watch out on Rachel's channel for a book review of all of the books that we included in this box. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Be sure to click down below for more sci-fi content, and I'll see you soon.